The first Monday, I woke at 10 minutes to 6. Nobody set an alarm. Nobody had to. My body had been getting up at 10 of 6 for 35 years, and it had not been informed that anything had changed. So I did what I always did: shower, coffee, and by 6:15, I was standing in my own kitchen, dressed with my keys in my hand. There was nowhere to be. I stood there a while. I'd like to say a minute. It was longer than that. And what I felt wasn't sadness exactly. It was stranger than that. Maybe you know this too. Maybe yours ended some other way. A layoff at 54, a company that folded, a job you walked away from at 47 and never replaced. I'm Daniel. And for a long time, I thought what I'd lost that Monday was the work. I don't think that anymore. It took me about 2 years to figure out what had actually gone missing, and I want to tell you now rather than make you wait for it, because nobody told me, and I think that's the whole problem. It wasn't the work. It was being expected somewhere. Let me say what I mean by that, because it sounds small, and it isn't. For 35 years, if I hadn't turned up on a Tuesday morning, somebody would have noticed inside the hour. Not because anything would have fallen apart without me. It wouldn't have. Somebody would have covered it by 10, and the day would have gone on more or less the same. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the noticing. Somebody would have looked at the place where I was supposed to be and seen that I wasn't in it, and picked up a phone. That is not employment. That's something else that comes bundled with employment, so quietly that nobody ever names it and nobody ever thanks anyone for it. Somewhere in that building, my name was on a list, and every morning of my adult life, without my ever thinking about it once, the world checked that list. And I can tell you exactly what being expected looked like, day to day. It looked like nothing at all. It looked like a parking space that was mine by custom and not by any sign on it. It looked like a man named Ray who worked the door and said good morning to me somewhere around 9,000 times across 20 years, and never once said anything else. It looked like a pot of coffee somebody had already started because they knew roughly what time I came in. None of that is friendship. I want to be clear because it wasn't, and I'm not going to dress it into something it never was. Ray and I didn't know each other. I couldn't have told you his wife's name. But every working morning of my life, a man I barely knew confirmed out loud that I had arrived somewhere. And it turns out that's load-bearing, and you cannot tell a thing is load-bearing until it's taken out. Whatever they call it, retirement, restructuring, a good run, the ending is the same. It ends on a Friday. There's usually a cake, and nobody stands up at the cake and says, "On Monday, no one will be checking for you." Here's the part I didn't see coming, and I don't think most people do. I never once thought of myself as my job while I had it. Ask anyone who's still working who they are, and they won't give you a job title. They'll tell you about their kids. They'll tell you they fish, or that they're from Ohio, or that they're the one in the family who fixes things. The work is what they do on the way to being those. That's how it was for me. The job felt like something I did. It never once felt like something I was. 3 weeks in, I was standing in a hardware store, and a man about my age started talking to me the way men that age do about a length of pipe. And somewhere in it, he asked what line of work I was in. And I heard myself say, I was, and then I stopped, right there in the aisle, with the pipe in my hand, because I didn't have the end of that sentence. I'd been carrying an answer around for 35 years without ever once thinking of it as an answer. It only turned out to be one on the morning I didn't have it anymore. That's the strange arithmetic of it. The thing was invisible the entire time I had it, and became visible the moment it was gone. Now here's the part that confused me longest. The time is fillable. That's what nobody warns you about either. I built things. I have a workshop, and it's a good one, and I spent that first year in it. I fixed everything in this house that had been waiting a decade to be fixed. I read in the afternoons. I took long walks at hours I'd never seen before. And every one of those hours was fine, genuinely fine. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they were hollow, because they weren't. Not one of them touched it. There was an afternoon that first spring that finally showed me why. I'd been meaning to fix the hinge on the back door for 8 years, the one that had dropped just enough that the door caught on the frame if you came at it carelessly. Took me 40 minutes. I did it properly, planed the frame, reset the screws, oiled the pin, and then I opened and closed that door maybe 6 times, listening to it swing clean, and I felt good about it. Genuinely. That small, particular satisfaction of a thing done right. And then I stood in the doorway at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. The house was quiet, the work was finished, and it was finished well. And there was nobody in the world who knew I'd done it. Nobody was going to come through that door and notice the difference. Nothing in the rest of that day was going to require me for anything at all. It wasn't loneliness. I want to be careful there because it wasn't. I had people. I could have picked up a phone and somebody would have answered. It was that the afternoon had no shape to it. Nothing in it was waiting on me. I had filled the hour completely, and the hour had never needed filling. That's when I understood, and it was almost embarrassing how simple it was. A workshop doesn't miss you. A garden has never once wondered where you were. You can fill an entire Tuesday and still not be expected on it. Those are 2 completely different things, and one of them is not available in a hardware store. And the habits went one at a time, and they took years about it. The clothes were first. I laid them out on a Sunday night for about 4 months after it ended, and then one Sunday I didn't. I remember noticing that I hadn't, and feeling something about it I couldn't name, and going to bed anyway. The Sunday evening feeling lasted a great deal longer. That particular weight that lands around 6 on a Sunday, I had that for 2 full years after there was any Monday left to have it about. My body kept sending up a warning long after there was anything to be warned of. And that's the thing about being expected. It doesn't live in your head where you could reason with it and talk it down. It lives lower than that. It lives in the part of you that gets up at 10 of 6 without asking your permission first. So here's where I've come out. Nothing was taken out of me that Friday. That's what I had backwards for 2 years. I kept looking myself over for the missing piece, the way you check your pockets. And it isn't there because nothing was removed. Same hands, same judgment, same 35 years of knowing how a thing tends to go wrong before it goes wrong. All of that is still here. All of it is still mine. What ended wasn't my usefulness. It was my appointment. My name came off a list. That's the whole event. And a list isn't a quality you have. It's a place you occupy in somebody else's morning, and mine got closed. I'd like to tell you that understanding it fixes it. It doesn't, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. My body still wakes at 10 of 6, 3 years on. It has never once gotten the message. What changed is that I stopped searching myself for the damage. There isn't any. There was never anything wrong with me. There was just nobody checking. And those two feelings arrive in exactly the same shape at that hour of the morning, which is why so many people spend a year or two thinking the first one when it was only ever the second. I'll leave you with this. Nobody warns you because they think they're giving you time. They don't know that the thing they're taking back is the part of the world that was keeping track of you. Your name came off a list. Nothing came out of you. Tell me in the comments, do you remember your first Monday? The one after it ended, when you got up out of habit and there was nowhere to be? I'd like to know. And if you want to sit with me again, subscribe. I'll be here. I'm Daniel. I'll see you in the late hours.